It's 3 a.m. I feel like I'm crucified on the cross. It's obviously, I'm speaking symbolically here, but I'm speaking about the pain, about the suffering. This is the word, this is the way I'm describing it. The crucifixion of insomnia. And I'm well aware I'm not the only one. I could read uh, forums, discussions on internet. All this to say that if I go back when I had this nostril inside the nose surgery, it's called a turbinate reduction, turbinectomy. It's been now 2024. This surgery happened in 2009. So it's 20, wait, uh, let me just remember well, 2009, yes. So that's 20, not 25 years, but 15 years. 15 years. I wanted to do some maths. The pain, the trouble, if you want, the hell, the downhill started, I would estimate, it actually started right after the surgery. And there has been periods, so steps, if you want. First months, it was in a way. Following months, it started degrading in a different way. And I would say the worst started about, let's just make it around the number 5 years after the surgery. 3, 4, 5 years. Because you don't even understand this, what's going on. You don't realize what it is. If you have a car crash, if you break a bone, you know on the instant this is bad and it's painful. And with this surgery, it's all, I'm not sure if there's a word in English, it's subtle. It starts and you've never experienced this. And I'm not going to talk only about this now. I'm going to talk about many other things. Pain, suffering in general, in very general, I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about suffering through human history. But let me just give it a start in this way. So let's just consider it has been 10 years. 10 years through this, the last 10 years, 2015, 2024, almost 25. We are in December 24. 10 years. I've never said this on my videos on ENS playlist, on my YouTube channel, main channel. And I'm not going to give you the exact words. I'm not going to give you the reason either. But 10 years of, it's not always the same pain. And again, this is only at night time for me. I know other people are struggling through daytime as well. I did not, yes, a little bit, but my pain was at night time. Definitely, that's where it started. 10 years of, hmm, let's not put words to this. And what just made me think about what many other people are getting, have been going through their lives. I, for some reason, this hell made me make made me. Sorry, English is my third language. Basically, I learn English at work, if you want, one of my jobs. I'm of Romanian origin, been living in, in Romania for the first 20 years of my life. Came to Canada in the French uh, province, French region of Canada, learned French on the go, and then learned English on the go. So my English vocabulary, it's good perhaps for general talk, but not for specific items, specific names. So yes, this hell got me in a unexpected perhaps way to think about the suffering of more or less entire mankind. uh, I say more or less, no one can really wait, carry the pain of everyone that's living on the planet or that has been living on the planet till now. But mankind, I'm not sure about this name, I know what it means, but the entire people that ever lived on this planet, just look back into history. Granted, many had good lives, good life experience. They did enjoy it. Many did live a quiet life, peaceful one. But also there have been so many troubles in this history of the humans. Not just wars, but so much injustice at the individual level. Sicknesses, those epidemics. I was thinking about, see, two things come in my mind. Africa, the amount of suffering they got through. And maybe we can think in the distant past history, but I think because we are so-called modern times, we don't even know what these modern times mean. Maybe we are in the middle of the modern history. Maybe humans are going to keep going for another 1,000, 2,000 years from now. So we are not the last ones. Maybe we are, but we don't know it. So this is perhaps not a conclusion of the mankind, so to speak. Things are keep going on the hard way for many people. So I was saying about the modern history of Africans, obviously not all Africans. Again, we are just using these words, but they don't cover every single location and individual, but so much injustice. I think one of the places in Africa that have been particularly troubled, not the only one, but one that's big and it's in the center of the Africa. It was called at some point Zaire. I think it was called at some point Congo, and now the Democratic Republic of Congo. Just to take a basic example, there are many other places that went through hell in Africa. You see, there is just let me sum it up in a few words. There have been minerals in Congo, beginning of the century, needed for electronics, new type of electronics called SMD. These are kind of microelectronics. If you look inside your cell phone, you will see SMD. If you look inside a TV set from the 60s, you will see regular electronic components much bigger. So these SMDs had to come to market because the whole electronics was changing. The electronic world was changing, consumer goods, but also military, very important because SMD means miniaturization, so new weapons, more powerful, more performance. And these minerals, a large part of them were located in the eastern region of Congo, Zaire, or RDC, call it what you want. They were, my understanding, in the hands of Mobutu, perhaps also there were other countries, so there have been a war right there. And that war finished with 5 million deaths, 5 million Congolese people who died, small part of them because directly of war situation, a large part of them because displacement, famine, and sicknesses due to the war situation. 5 million people, and you can find a little bit of information on YouTube, but it has been hidden because this war has been perpetrated by a person called Kagame, Paul Kagame, which is now the president of Rwanda, dictator. And this Paul Kagame actually was and is the friend of Bill Clinton, ex-president of United States. Paul Kagame actually was formed military inside the United States in order to perform this war, which caused the death of 5 million, not thousand, million Congolese, which is the biggest war number of victims since World War II. So basically, the American President Bill Clinton and his administration and the deep state, or whatever you call it, in the United States, they are behind these 5 million deaths. That's why you don't see a lot of information about this conflict, which was called, actually, there were two Congo wars. Don't remember exactly the dates, somewhere around after the Rwanda genocide, somewhere around 98, 2003, 4 or so. So the suffering these Congolese people went through, there are images, so many of these 5 million people were women, children, regular people. They had no escape. And the suffering they went through is just an example of the suffering the Africa, at least a part of the Africa continent, went through in modern times. But obviously we know well about slavery. We know all well about this too. And these people, African people, have been so punished throughout this, at least recent history. This is just one example. I can give you another example about mankind suffering that I'm aware of. Place I was living in Romania. This was a country that was many times invaded by various civilizations, not civilizations, but various tribes, barbars, and so on. These barbars were just given one of them has been Genghis Khan. If you read about his history, this guy was not himself, but his army, his generals, his commanders were just getting through the place. They were just chopping everyone, children, women, no distinctions whatsoever. Actually, I think they had a rule. If you, well, this was for the cities. Actually, if you just surrender to us, we will just be your kind of protectors. If you don't surrender to us, you will vanish. I mean, there will be no survivor, more or less, more or less. Nothing is complete, but and that includes obviously children, women, regular population. So Romania has been through, and it's not the only one. I don't mean that, but I just give an example that I know. Have been so many throughout hundreds of years, thousands of years, so many times just slash like this. And I give you another example. Romanians, at least in the past 1000 or so years that we know of more clearly, have been Christians, and that's Christian Orthodox. It's just like the Russian Church. And please, when you think Russian Church, please don't think Putin, because Western propaganda, it's demonizing the entire Russia because of Putin. Now I'm aware there are Russians who go wage that war in Ukraine, but Russia is Russia, and I know that the patriarch Cyril, I think Cyril would say, Russia is supporting that war. I don't support that war in any way, and I don't blame their church either. I believe, and this is my, let's say, the church, the Russian church, Orthodox, is the church that I appreciate the most, but not because of this war, obviously. And I don't think the entire church, I mean, the old priests, bishops are supporting this war. More or less the patriarch, I guess. So I was saying about yeah, the Romanians were Christian Orthodox and still are, but not really practical. It's a mix actually. And they were a lot back hundreds of years ago. They were living as a lot of part of Romanians were peasants. Lot most of the population, I guess. There were cities too, but most of the population were peasants, Christian Orthodox, just working the land. It was a hard life because they were for a couple of hundred years under Ottoman domination, and this is the Turkey, if you're under modern Turkey. This domination was asking for I think, not sure about the name in English, tribute, just paying big amount of money every year. And that money was coming from those peasants who were really struggling to pay it. There's a whole history of those princes which were sent by the Ottoman Empire to rule Romania, and those princes were like extortionists, pure and simple. So the peasants in Romania were really already struggling with their lives, with their taxes and so on. And yet there were have been invasions, not regularly, but there have been invasions from this Ottoman Empire who were less barbaric than the Genghis Khan legions. However, what they were doing at some point, I guess it has been repeated, they were capturing, I'm not sure about the women in Romania, but their children. They were capturing their children. Oh, as a Christian, I think my first priority, the most important thing for me is the truth. So when I say things, I just want to be as clear as as accurate I can be, to not to give you a wrong image of the things. Like it's very easily and very oftentimes done today. People say something and you get the idea that it has been like this much more than actually it has been. So when I say things, I would like just to be more accurate and just to give you an idea that to make you understand that it wasn't like this 100% all the time. So this capture of the children, I didn't read on Google how many times has been done, in which amounts. However, it is real and it has happened to those peasants, Romanian peasants. The pain here is, so they were Christian Orthodox, which means they were having large families. Don't know number, depends, 6 children, 10, 12, 15 children, maybe more. And these troops from the Ottoman Empire were capturing, I don't know, maybe perhaps the teenager boys. I don't think the girls, but again, I don't have this information clear. Perhaps the teenager boys. And they were taken away from them, from these Christian Orthodox families. These teenagers, my guess is teenagers. You may read it perhaps on Google and get the correct, accurate information. These teenagers were taken to the Ottoman Empire in modern Turkey, and they were Islamized, I think. They were converted to Islam, and they were enrolled into the Ottoman army, which in turn was used against basically their own parents in Romania. So there are two things here. First, you are a Christian family, you have many children, you struggle with your life. You are a peasant, but not a rich one, because there was no wealth back then. There were a few people who had land. Those were the wealthy ones, but the peasants were working for those people on someone else's land, or maybe they had a fairly small piece of land for themselves, and they were struggling because they had large families, because they had to pay taxes, because the Ottoman Empire was extortionating Romania. So these families have their teenagers, again, not all the time. This has happening, I cannot tell you how many times, in how many regions, at which amount, but just imagine one of these families. The Turks, we call this Turks. Ottomans come, take your teenagers, boys, I don't know, maybe one, maybe two or three, depends. Take them away from you, bring them to a faraway country, no way to travel, to visit them, obviously. There's no such traveling back then, no cars, no planes, no ships. There were, but obviously a peasant would not do this. You don't even know where they go. There's no email or something like this. So your children, those children, a few of your children, boys, I'm guessing, taken away from you, converted to a different religion. And for Christian Orthodox, this is, I don't know what words to put, terrible, a disaster perhaps, right? Christianity doesn't convert to something else. And converted to a different religion, enrolled into an army, and if the governor, let's call it like this, the prince of Romania, actually there were 3 territories in Romania, where, just generally speaking, there were 3 territories on the land that now it's called Romania. So if one of these princes would start a war against the Ottoman Empire, the Ottoman Empire will send that army with one of part of the army were those teenagers captured from Romania. So they will send these teenagers to fight against the army of peasants, of Romanian peasants. Obviously, among that army, at some point, they would fight against their own fathers, not mothers, but fathers. And my guess also is that these teenagers, once converted to Islam, once submerged into this new culture, new environment, new country, my guess is a good part of them will completely forget their past, forget their own religion, everything. They would become really just like Turks, Islamic people. So they will definitely fight against their country or against their parents without really having a conscience about what they are doing, without regretting, without anything. Just like a soldier, basically. So this is just another example of mankind suffering that I know of in Romania, where I've been born. Yeah. Um, give you another example. When I was suffering this sinister insomnia, and this is just a part of my life, present life, just one of the I don't know what name to put on this. It's just a part of the puzzle with the same name, pain, suffering, trouble. That's called life, my life. I don't know about other people. What I was saying. Yes, so when I feel this pain, I sometimes remember a scene that happened in Bucharest, Romania. I was traveling there. I was visiting. My mother was still living there, was still alive by then. And I do remember one night going with her, I think, and her husband. We went to a restaurant in mid. It's not downtown, right? It's more like center of the city. We call that center of the city. And it was a not an expensive restaurant, but a popular restaurant, a popular place. I don't remember the name. And I remember that was like a plaza. The restaurant was in a large plaza, like a space. People were walking. It was a tourist place, if you want. And this gypsy, Roma, Romanian called this Tsigan. Tsigan, it's a bit insulting, I think. Has an insulting color to it. Gypsy. This guy was just standing, resting against the building in that plaza. So sitting on the ground, just back against the wall of a building. He was a beggar, and he was eating. There were a couple of people. Oh, yes, pretty, pretty a certain amount of people walking there. And he starting started talking with a loud voice, and he said he was talking to God in Romania, and he said, When is all this going to end? Something like, I remember the exact words. When is all this going to end? Um, why it's all this like that? He was talking about himself, obviously, a beggar, and perhaps he was comparing himself to others right there who weren't, who were not in that condition of his. So he was just asking God, why it's this? Like, why it's my life like this? When it's all this struggle of mine going to end? So he was not addressing someone, he was just talking loud, not yelling, but talking loud. Everybody could hear him. So when I'm in this hell of mine, sometimes I remember that guy and I say, well, I'm not there. He was worse. I'm not saying much worse, far worse, just worse. That doesn't bring me any relief. It's just that it feels like you don't. It feels like basically you're not the only one. You're not alone in this. I don't know what else to say at this point. I don't understand this. I don't understand their suffering. I don't understand why humans are just have to take this. I don't understand why the human body can take these levels of pain. Why it's like this? I'm talking about maybe you burn yourself, or maybe you get a toe crushed, or maybe you go to dentists who don't use anesthetic. I don't know. Anything. The body is made to feel such pain. Modern medicine does help here, of course, but it hasn't been like this throughout the history. If you are depressed right now, don't follow me. Just stop this video because it won't help you. And I want to say that let's just forget this. Hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, there was no pain relief anyway. Think about the people who were in a conflict, in a fight, in a war, with the wounds they got. They were just perhaps left on the battlefield to die, if you don't bleed to death, hopefully fast, you'll perhaps die from septic shock. Your wound gets infected, couple of days, perhaps it's game is the end for you. But until then, the pain from those wounds, and remember, those wounds would have been anywhere, on your face, on your skull, on your stomach, on your spine. You would agonize for hours, for days. And this is just an example of this. Think about sorry. That's one of the issues with Romanian, French, and English. You know, in Romania, slave it's sclav. In French, esclav. So notice sclav, C-K, sclav, esclav, C-K-E-S-K. But in English, they had to do it different. Slave, there is no K. So that's why I say it's caves. Slaves, think about slaves. Uh, the infinitely small amount of people that we know of, we will never learn or we will never find even one person, even 1,000th% of the entire suffering that happened on this planet throughout history. Because maybe we think about some people or some scenarios that we see in a movie, but that's just literally a drop, maybe not in an ocean, maybe in a big Olympic pool of water. So the amount of suffering that has happened throughout the history to everyone, I mean, all people that lived on this planet, we will never just, our brain does not have the ability to imagine that. So we just focus, just take tiny examples that we know and we can imagine, figure, reproduce in our imagination, and be just, there's no word for this, be just in disbelief. And that's just a drop in the big pool or big river. So if we take the slaves, that people that have been through slavery, maybe those who were just yeah, missing those words. Anyway, let's say those were I think it, not sure about the name, but those who were powering the ships. You know, it's just like in movies with I think there's a movie Ben-Hur. So those, I'm not sure about that. I don't even know the name, but there was like 100 of them or so, 200 of them for one ship, and they were just powering the ship with, again, I don't know the name. It's like a wooden something that goes in water and you push on it to advance the ship, and there's kind of 100 or 200 people. Just imagine one of these persons through, good question, how many years, how long did a person last in such condition? maybe months, maybe weeks, maybe years, who knows? But just imagine the life of such person, sitting basically the entire time of the day. Maybe there were breaks, but who knows? Sitting and just forcing yourself physically without much food, I guess. Who knows? Maybe lacking water. Maybe it was hot inside. There was no air conditioning or anything. In winter time, maybe it was too cold. And that was your life, or maybe the end of your life, for sometimes a long period. This doesn't make sense. And again, this is a tiny example. This doesn't get in my head. This doesn't get in my mind. And notice I'm not saying all these things that I said in this video, very long video, 40 minutes. I'm not comparing this with a comfortable life, a life where you is just fine, everything or most things are fine. I'm not comparing it to this. Yeah. 10 years of struggling. Basically, this is just a part of 50 years. I'm 50 years old. A childhood where I never met someone that was a true friend. Parents who had no idea how to raise me and my brother. My parents were also were like somehow like children trying to do a job for adults. Cold, getting angry easy. They didn't educate me and my brother the average normal way, and then they were angry against us because we were just not obedient or were not doing things fairly right. You know, a very common mistake from parents. There are parents who have no idea how to raise children, how to educate children, how to um, make them evolve, how to deal with them. Because a child, in a way, it's a wild, if you want, a wild animal. You have to tame it, tame him. Has to be tamed in a way, in a fairly, I think it's a fairly specific way. The attitude, the times when you say yes, the times when you say no, how you deal with tantrums the right way. A tantrum in a child, it's a critical moment, an essential moment, not in a bad way. It's a great moment. And if you act, the parent reacts the right way to a child who is doing a tantrum in any place, including at a shopping mall, on the street, on the sidewalk, in front of everyone, if the parent acts the right way at that point, the child will learn there is a no, there is a situation when the child will have to give up, but in a normal way, not in a brutal way. The child will evolve at that point into a more balanced person. My mother told me I was in front of a store window. I think there were toys in there, and I was insisting, perhaps I was crying, I want this toy, I want this toy. I don't, she didn't tell me the age at that point. And she said to me, so this is a couple of years ago, and at that point where you started doing this scene for that toy, I slapped your butt. I give you a good slap. You know, fessé, we say in French. She slapped me well. The butt, in the butt, not in the face. This is what she says to me when she's old. I slapped your butt and you stopped. And she said this to me with pride. She was so, not so, but she said something like, I managed you. I did succeed to solve the situation in this way. Now, don't understand me wrong. I'm not pretending to have a parent who knows what he's doing in the past. I don't have this pretension. I did, I would have had this wish, of course, it's normal. But I'm not saying why it wasn't like this. But this was the wrong, complete wrong way to deal with that situation. Only a mature, an adult, a real adult inside, not just the body, a real adult person would have known how to deal with this situation the right way, so the child, me, or any other child, would have understood the no in a proper way, in a normal way. Basically, if you're just curious out, the right way is just to say no. Okay? No. And there is no, you cannot say it once, no, I cannot give you that, I cannot buy you that, I don't have money or something like this. But then it's just no, 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 just no. It's not a mean no, it's not a mean look, it's not anger, it's not domination, it's just a normal, simple, basic no. But this no comes from inside a parent who is a real adult, not a child in adult body. A real adult will have a self-confidence. I don't know if you know if you say this in English. Real, I mean, he is just balanced, a balanced person, a person who is who knows who he is, and the way he's saying this no is just like I'm saying now. It's not anything else. It's no aggressiveness, no control, no domination, no nothing. It's just no. The child is saying this no and understands at that moment the adult in front of him is someone who has confidence in his natural confidence, not psychological confidence, natural confidence in himself. In front of him, there is an adult who knows it's an adult, who knows who he is, who is stable. And at that moment, the child does understand there is a, not interdiction, but it is, his demands are denied. That's okay. That time, maybe another time, then he will get a toy or another toy. The child understands the meaning of the word no, understands the limit, but, and this is just my opinion because I haven't read anywhere about this, I think the child also understands something more important in that moment. From the attitude of the adult, from the post attitude of the adult, an attitude that has no harshness, no aggressiveness, no mean looks, no manipulations, no lies. The child learns he is safe, security. The adult is someone he feels perhaps protected by that person, by that adult. He feels he is safe, overall speaking. It's just like the proof that's the person who is his parent, who's taking care of him. It's a, let's just say it this way, I don't know how to put it, solid person. Someone who doesn't get angry, because anger is weakness. Always. Doesn't get angry, stands his decision. So it's solid. It helps the child. This is what I think. Again, maybe you're reading psychology books or so on the subject, but this is what I think. So there are two outcomes here. If the adult is angry, yelling, or if it starts saying lies, I'll get you that toy tomorrow, or any other ridiculous lie or manipulation, or if the adult gets physically hits the child, or it's starting to argue, but you have already this. You can say an argument once, it's okay, but that's it. You don't keep arguing with that child at that point. I'm talking about a tantrum right here, right? Not just, Mom, I want this toy. You already have enough toys. There's enough toys in your room, for real. But Mom, I want this toy. This is something yes, but you already have three dolls or three cars like this. But Mom, I really want this. It's really the best. It's the most beautiful. I told you have enough. I think that's the end of the arguments. But Mom, really, I will never come back to this store. I said no. But Mom, no. Mom, really, I just trying to put myself in the mind of a child, right? Sorry, it's maybe not the best acting. But Mom, my friends also no. And there are going to be 10 no's. 10 no's. And at some point, maybe not at that day, but usually I would think at that day, maybe another time, maybe it's going to repeat. But at some point, the child will get those 10 no's, 20 no's, 30 no's, 40 no's, 50 no's, and think to himself, okay, now I stop. I'm not asking anymore. but it's in a gentle and normal way. Again, if the parent, I was saying this is the good outcome. If the parent instead starts lying to him, manipulating him, oof, boy, we do see this very often. And sometimes there is a person passing by who starts saying, "Let me help you, madam." Boy, that's just another child in adult's body. So, or maybe the grandparents, "Oh, but let me just buy him this toy." That's interference, right? So if the parent is lying, it's getting angry, it's getting physical, it's getting with punishments or threatens or aggressive or screaming, you name it, then there is another outcome to this situation. And that outcome, in my opinion, first off, you missed the occasion to show the child that you are a real adult, someone that gives him security, psychologically and emotionally speaking. So you missed this opportunity, this occasion, and there are not many of these occasions. There are a few of them during the childhood. So take advantage when this happens to help your child. So I was saying, not only you did miss this occasion, but because your wrong attitude, actually, I think, let's just try to talk psychologically. I think you show your child, perhaps, that you are not a real adult, that the person in front of him doesn't, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no, I don't know, let's just not imagine this. But I was going to say the opposite of it for the child, of getting this safe feeling that the person in front of him is a real adult. I don't know if he will get unsecure because of this. I don't know. I just don't know. But for sure, it's it's a different outcome than the right one.